Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I'm an Auckland wedding photographer at Lydia Rachel Photography and your host. This week I'm joined by the lovely Emma, who shares her story of her intimate Queenstown elopement. I think we've had a few overseas elopements, but not one in New Zealand, and this is such a great option if you are considering it. Emma and Jason were living in Adelaide while planning their wedding, and after exploring all kinds of options from Fiji to a more traditional wedding, they ended up stripping everything right back and choosing a small elopement style day with just 13 people. We talk about the reality of figuring out how you actually want to get married when there are millions of options, why the all-inclusive elopement package worked so well for them, and how they created a day that still felt special, beautiful, and intentional without planning a huge wedding. Emma is also really honest about the things she would do differently, including a little bit of dress regret, feeling a little uncomfortable in it on the day, and what she learned about planning an intimate wedding when you don't always have the same reference points as a more traditional venue wedding. This is such a helpful episode if you're feeling overwhelmed by the cost or logistics of a bigger wedding, or if you're wondering whether something smaller could still feel meaningful and like a real celebration. So let's get into it. Enjoy episode 143 with Emma. Hi Emma, thanks so much for joining me today. Excited to hear all about your story and wedding.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So to get started with, if you could just tell us a bit about both of you, how you guys met and your life together.
Yeah, so Jason and I met in 2021 in May in Wellington. We met on Bumble, which was always a good time. Our first date we had to reschedule a couple of times due to sickness and injuries. We ended up going for a game of darts on Courtney Place, which was quite a good first date, and went to an escape room next, and that was really fun. But it was our third date at a cocktail bar called Hanging Ditch that made it really clear to both of us that this was something pretty special and could be something quite big. And from there, it's been super easy. We lived in Wellington for a little while and got engaged end of 2023 and relocated to Adelaide, South Australia, where we are now.
So good. So together for a while, and you got engaged 23. Can you tell us a bit about the proposal story?
So because we were relocating to Adelaide, we had discussed getting engaged prior to that. So I knew it was coming, and we spent the month before we flew out with family. So I'm from New Plymouth. We spent a couple of weeks there, and then we went up to Whangarei to see his family for a few weeks. And there's a beach there called Ruakaka that's quite sentimental to us. So I kind of suspected that that's where he would propose. He decided that we'd go there on the worst weather, and I was like, okay, it's probably going to happen today because logistically the next few days are quite busy, so it's probably going to be today. The weather was awful, but as soon as we arrived, it was the only spot that was sunny, so that was really nice. But we took his family dog, Jamie, with us, who's obsessed with a Kong and loves to play fetch with it. So as soon as we get to the beach, the dog's jumping up on Jason, trying to get the Kong, Jason trying to put the keys in his pocket, and this thing falls out of his pocket, and I thought it was his phone because it was black, and I was thinking, like, phones and sand is not great. And I was like, oh my God, is that your phone? And he was like, oh, no, like trying to put things back in his pocket. And as we kept walking, I was like, that wasn't his phone. It looked really different. And then I realized that's the ring box. I knew what it looked like because it's a family heirloom. So we'd already tried it on and resized it and everything. And so we got walking down the beach and sort of giddy and smiling, both knowing that, okay, it's going to happen in a couple of minutes, just moving away from people the whole time. The dog's so excited about this Kong to the point where it went into the ocean and he was too scared to get it. So Jason is wading out in the ocean, trying to get it, trying to hold all of his pocket and all his stuff up. So when he eventually we got to a quiet end of the beach and he got down on one knee and he just said, before I lose this ring in the ocean, will you marry me? And that was really nice. But being a typical boy, he didn't realize you're supposed to put the ring on your new fiance's finger. So he just went to start throwing a Kong again. I was like, no, Jason, you're supposed to put it on my finger now. It's part of this deal. But it was nice. It was very sort of intimate and special place for us.
Oh, so cool. Love Ruakaka. I've done a few summers camping there growing up as well. But yeah, such a special spot. And yeah, just so funny. I love it when it's just like not super like planned and I don't know, not like it's fake in a way, but it's just like who you are and the dog's going crazy and yeah,
Yeah.
so good. So you had quite a big life change with then moving away pretty soon after that. Did you have like a vision in mind for what you wanted for your wedding? Did you consider a few different options? Where did that kind of planning process start?
Because we were relocating country, Jason was focused on settling into his new job, and I had a buffer of time before I started work because I was waiting for the school year to start. And so I was like, I'm ready to plan a wedding. Like, I'm hyped. I've been looking forward to this for ages. Where he was very much focused on other things, which is totally fair. But I've been obsessed with weddings for the longest time, and I remember buying heaps of wedding magazines when I was a teenager. I loved it. I loved looking through the photos, but I had no idea about what our wedding would look like or what my dress would look like. And I think there was just an overconsumption of content. And I learned there was a million ways to have a wedding and a million ways to make it look good, and I found that the hardest part of the whole process was trying to figure out how we wanted to get married, because there was so many ways to do it. So we considered a lot of different ideas. We floated around the idea of a destination wedding in Fiji. At one point we were going to do a more traditional elopement and hike to the top of Mount Taranaki with a friend as a celebrant and then have a party afterwards. We almost put down a deposit in Adelaide at a winery called Golding up in Adelaide Hills, which has the most amazing food and really manicured gardens. It was stunning. But I think we had a point where it was really obvious to us we weren't going to be able to have a typical wedding around the 30K mark. Like, it wasn't possible. You're going to have to cut a lot of corners. And we didn't really feel comfortable putting so much money into one day. I found throughout the process of deciding what we wanted to do, it got us closer to what we actually cared the most about, like the destination wedding in Fiji. We really liked the idea of spending a lot of time with guests and family leading up to the day. So that quality time was what we wanted to include in our day. Or we got attached to the mountaintop elopement idea. We thought that was really cool and quite special, and so the most us, and so then that ended up being part of our day as well. But yeah, that was the hard part. But as soon as we locked in our elopement in Queenstown, that was way better in price. We never second guessed it. It was really clear from as soon as we locked that in, we were done changing our minds. This was definitely something we were excited about, was more suited to us, and the cost was much more appealing than a 50+ K wedding.
Yeah, so good. So interesting to hear that thought process. And I guess with like you living in a new country and then your family's from different parts of the country, it was always going to be some kind of destination for somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, so good. And you mentioned a few things in there, but yeah, anything else? Like, what was the top priorities when planning for the day?
Originally, I feel like we had a priority of guests and we wanted to spend time with people we cared about the most. And then it felt like we were planning our entire day around everyone else, which after a while didn't sit well with me. I thought you can't make everyone happy and you can't figure out all the logistics for everybody, because you're right, we had a lot of family and friends spread out across the world. It would have been a lot to ask people to come to one place for our wedding. So we ended up sort of not having that as a priority anymore and narrowed it down to just the bare basics. We just want to have a great day together and get married. I wanted to feel like a bride. I wanted to dress like a bride. That was a big part for me, the dress and all that sort of part of it. And I wanted some nice photos. I know that's the part that sort of goes with you throughout the post-wedding is the photos you have to remember it. So I wanted to make sure they were photos I was really happy with. But yeah, those were kind of our priorities. We stripped it right back. Jason would have been happy with a courthouse wedding, but he knew I wanted a bit more than that.
Yeah. Well, so good. Yeah, that was my next question about the dress. How did you find that process? Did you go shopping, a few different places? Yeah, tell us a bit about that.
I feel like I botched the dress big time. I was so excited about the dress. It was something that I've been looking forward to since I was a kid. And I went to quite a few boutiques here in Adelaide, because the wedding industry in Adelaide is massive. Like, it's a very competitive industry, lots of vendors. I went to quite a few places by myself, which I actually quite liked, because I got to just figure out how I felt about the dresses I was trying on. And originally I went to like the first bridal studio to see if I actually wanted to wear a wedding dress, if I wanted to go more simple since we were doing an elopement. And I decided really quickly, and I do want to wear a proper big wedding dress. But I never got the 100% this is my dress feeling. And I did have my mum come with me to go to like second appointments at some places to narrow down. I had about 3 dresses I was considering picking between, and I sat on those choices for months. And when Mum came along, we picked a dress that I thought Jason would like the most. It was the most flattering for my body type, but it was an off the shoulder, which I don't really do, and there was a neckline of another dress I liked more that was just straight across and it was strapless. So originally when I picked my dress, I had planned massive alterations to the bust, and basically there was like a whole collection of fabric across the chest, and with the original dress itself, it was really messy. It was just extra like fabric, and I don't know why they designed it that way. So I knew it needed a lot of work to look neat and polished. So yeah, we were going to take an off-the-shoulder dress, make it strapless, which was a horrible idea because you order a dress and then there's months before you get it, and then there's the alterations for a while, and the whole time I'm stressing out thinking, is this dress going to turn out the way I want it to turn out, rather than picking a dress that I was happy as is and just needed hemming and a little bit of sizing alterations. I should definitely have picked one of those other dresses that I loved as they were, rather than big alterations and customizations to a dress. That was not smart. I'm glad Jason liked the dress on the day, and I showed him the other options, and he was like, no, the one you picked is definitely my favorite. It looked really beautiful and it photographed nicely. But yeah, I wish I didn't have the extra stress that I put on myself trying to get it right. But also it was a fit and flare, and it had boning, and it was off the shoulder, and I could not move in my dress. I was so like stiff. I had T-Rex arms most of the day, and I never thought to sit in my dress when I was trying it on, because although you think, oh, you're not really going to be sitting much on your wedding day, but part of our elopement had a helicopter ride up to the top of the mountain, and I was so uncomfortable in it. And by the end of the day, I felt like physically sick being so restricted in this dress. And on your wedding day, you're not supposed to feel like you can't move freely. You're supposed to have fun and not even think about how uncomfortable you are and what you're wearing. Yeah, I wish I had made it easier for myself with the dress, and yeah, picked one that I liked as is and could move in and sit in. And that's definitely advice I have for people now, is whatever you pick, make sure you can actually move in it, and yeah, pick a dress that you like as is, rather than doing huge alterations. It's not worth the stress and anxiety for months.
Oh, it's definitely a bit nervy, and just like trust the process, waiting for them to make those changes, and like, is it going to be too late if I hate it when it's done? Yeah, but such good advice, I think. Funnily enough, not everyone thinks about that, like, oh, I want to be comfortable on my day as well as looking amazing. Or I think that's why a lot of people do the second dress now for like dancing or whatever they have planned later, so that they can just like feel a bit more comfortable, not have this big dress. But yeah, interesting to hear your experience.
Yeah, that's actually why I got a second dress, because when we were going into alterations, I was like, I can't move in this. I need a second dress. And I never wanted a second dress. I wanted to wear my wedding dress right to the last minute, because you're never going to wear it again. And instead, I was like, there's no way I could fit. I can stay in this dress the whole day, which is a bit sad. But yeah, I can understand why people change it.
Though.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you had an elopement. Did you have any kind of bridal party, or what was that kind of decision like, whether to have one or not?
No, really early on in the planning process, we decided not to have a bridal party. I think we knew we were going to have a really small wedding, and we liked the idea of everyone. We sort of liked being there. There was no sort of hierarchy to that. Yeah, I think we got rid of that quite quickly. And I think because our wedding, it was actually just 13 of us in total, including us, and one of them was my 1-year-old nephew. And so I felt we kind of had special moments with each member of our sort of guests, and we didn't really need to have an extra sort of like hierarchy to our day.
Yeah, I often feel like those super intimate weddings are so special. And yeah, that was my kind of next thing, that decision process with your guest list. How did you find that? Was it just like immediate family, a few friends? Yeah, how was that process?
Originally, when we decided to lock in an elopement. We were just going to do just the two of us in Queenstown and do like a mountaintop elopement. We were drawn to that idea. And we had sort of said to our friends and family, we're going to do this and we'd love for you to come down to Queenstown while we're there. And we can, it would have been over a year, we would have seen family. So just be a nice holiday. And everyone was really excited about that idea. And then I think in the planning process, I kind of thought, well, we were going to stay, I think, with my family, so we could get basically a bigger Airbnb that would be easier to get ready in and have some photos in. And then I'm not a fan of first looks. I find them really awkward, and I could just imagine our families watching us have our first look and then commenting, and I bet this is so cringy, which just wasn't for me. So the idea of having a traditional ceremony felt a bit more formal, and then it became more like, okay, well, like who do we want to invite? And so we had our immediate families, and then we invited a couple of really close friends of ours. Unfortunately, a couple of them couldn't come for very good reasons. Like one of them was expecting her third baby the week of our wedding, so she couldn't fly. And the other one, her dad passed away a week before our wedding, so she had to go and sort arrangements for that morning. So we couldn't have controlled those sort of factors. Unfortunately, with it being a really small wedding, their absence was noticed. Like, it's 13 people and it was supposed to be a lot more than that. But it was nice. It ended up being everyone that we invited ended up being someone who had come to visit us in the time that we were living in Adelaide so far, which was nice. Like the people that we knew would always be in our lives. So definitely the nearest and dearest. And I have a massive extended family. I think if we did a big wedding, I'd have to invite so many people. And it just felt like it would have been a massive cost, and you're spending money on everyone else rather than the things you actually care about and get to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, so special. And can you kind of walk us through the day, maybe a bit of the lead up to it, how it all went, and any highlights, favorite moments?
Yeah, so we planned to be in New Zealand for 2 weeks. So we flew into Queenstown and spent about 4 or 5 days with our family, and we had like a conjoined hens and stags do, which was quite nice. And because we had only a small amount of people, we also made an active effort to spend basically like one-on-one time with all of our guests as well. Like we had a morning with Jason's parents around the city centre. We went on a hike with my friend and her partner. We had the sort of flexibility with a smaller guest list to actually spend more time with people leading up to the day, which was really nice. And then we stayed in a big Airbnb at, I think it's called Drift Bay, which is just past Jack's Point. So it was beautiful view of the mountains and the Remarkables, really spacious. So we stayed there with my family, which was cool because me and my family hadn't been in the same place for over 5 years because of COVID, and my brothers were living in London and things like that. So that was really cool to have that. So we were down like a master suite end of the house, which was nice. We had some privacy. And on our wedding day, Jason and I went for a walk down to the lakefront, which was really nice. It was a nice way to spend our morning. When we got back to the house, he got picked up by his parents and went out for breakfast with them. And I started getting ready with my mum and my sisters-in-law. We had an in-house hair and makeup artist as part of our elopement package deal, and we added on sort of guest hair and makeup onto that. So that was really nice. It was really relaxed. I did have to have my makeup done in the bedroom, which I didn't mind, but it did mean I was then restricted to that room of the house when everyone else arrived. And so I was kind of hidden away, trying not to be seen, which was a little bit isolating at times. But yeah, got ready, walked down the aisle, which was the best moment of the whole day. I think it's so surreal. And Jason cried, so I was stoked. And I had my nephew as our ring bearer, so he walked down before me, which was nice to have somebody walk down before me without a bridal party. It was nice as like a little sort of entry into it. Jason's dad played the guitar and sang a song as part of my aisle song, and some of the, I think he had like a song right at the start of our ceremony, which was really nice. We did, I don't know if it's called hand fasting. Our celebrant, when they sort of, I think it's where the tie the knot concept comes from, where they basically tie your hands together with some ribbon. I think it's called hand fasting, I can't remember. So we did that, like did a little personalized touch in our ceremony. Had one of my brothers and Jason's only sibling, his sister, sign our wedding certificate, which was really cool, as our witnesses. So we just did little things to include every sort of person as much as we could in the day, which was fun. And then after the ceremony, we had a couple of glasses of champagne and some family photos. And then we went with our photographer to the helicopter terminal and had a quick safety briefing. Was like 2 minutes, and went up to the top of the Remarkables for some photos, just Jason and I, which was really nice. We were lucky, although it wasn't a sunny day, which I was a little bit gutted about, it was windless. And so I actually wore my veil for way longer than I expected to wear it, even though it crinkled like crazy. But it meant the mountaintop was actually not too cold. I know the wind chill can get pretty extreme up there, so that was nice because I was a bit nervous about getting like freezing. Yeah, so after we had some photos, we flew back down, went back to the Airbnb, and I got changed into my second dress, which I was so excited for. And we had booked a place, I think it's called the Garnet Room. It's sort of near the airport. It's a private function centre place. So we had our dinner party there. That was our version of our reception with family. And then we had booked a night in the Hilton, thinking, oh, it's our wedding night. It will be nice to be away from family. I think that night we definitely realised we are not hotel people. We're Airbnb people. Paying for parking is ridiculous. So we kind of regretted that. We should have stayed at the really nice Airbnb that was already sort of private wing anyway. But yeah, that was our wedding day, and we sort of had brunch with everyone the next day, and it was really nice. It was relaxed. It still flew by. Like, everyone is right when they say it goes by so quickly, and your emotions are so like heightened throughout the whole day because it's such a big moment that I actually felt really sick at our dinner, like really nauseous, migraine, probably being uncomfortable in the dress as well. So I think, yeah, I definitely would have done the dinner portion of the day a bit differently, but I'm really happy with what we did and the cost that it was, because it does fly by. I'm so glad we didn't spend an arm and a leg on all of it.
Yeah, still so special as well. And just, yeah, being in that location, it's beautiful everywhere you look with the mountains. And so ceremony was like at the Airbnb, and then
Yeah.
reception, function, restaurant place. Was that kind of more like a dinner party, not the traditional cake and speeches and dancing and stuff?
Yeah, we did what they call a ground ceremony. So yeah, the Airbnb we picked had a really beautiful front lawn with views. So we paid a slightly extra charge to have a ground ceremony with guests involved. So they had brought us some wooden benches for seating and like a signing table and flower petals and I think champagne glasses and things like that. So that was really easy for them to add onto our package. And yeah, there's lots of Airbnbs that have the perfect space to do things like that. And I think you can also do it on public land in some areas too. But yeah, we definitely did a dinner party rather than a traditional reception. We're not really big drinkers. We didn't really care about cake. The food was great. Like that was yeah, there was a really good like Whitaker's dessert thing that Jason I think he had way too many of those. But yeah, we kept it more like wholesome, relaxed rather than party vibes. I think we're kind of nanas, I think, in that aspect.
I love that. Like, do what suits you best, not what's like expected, maybe. Yeah, what did you find? You've probably mentioned a few things, but what did you find the hardest part about wedding planning, or is there anything you look back on and regret or would have done a little differently?
The hardest part was definitely figuring out how we wanted to get married. As soon as we locked in the elopement package, so we went with Queenstown Elopements. There's lots of elopement companies in Queenstown. It's a really competitive industry down there. Like there's really good vendors, and lots of the vendors are doing really similar packages. We picked Queenstown Elopements at the time because they offered in-room hair and makeup, and the other company I was considering, Lost in Love, wasn't at the time. I think they do now. And I just didn't want to have to liaise with any vendors. I just wanted to have one person organise all of it. And they were fantastic. Hayley was our planner within that, and it was a really easy process, and the package we got came with everything you needed to have a really beautiful, easy wedding. So we had the photographer, Carla, she was amazing. We had a bouquet and buttonhole included in that. There was obviously planning and logistics. Celebrant Tess, she was great. Hair and makeup was included. But there was something, and then that we had added on the helicopter flight and landing for 45 minutes, like 45-minute touchdown kind of thing. And then on top of that, we added the ceremony setup, which was only like $800 for all the logistics around that. And we added on, I think, guest hair and makeup, which my family was happy to pay for, which was cool. I'm trying to think what else was included in that. Kind of everything you need to have a really simple wedding and elopement.
Yeah, quite all inclusive.
Yeah, like I work in roles in the past when you're involved with lots of organization and logistics, and I know that it requires a lot of work and there's a lot of email traffic, and it's not as fun as you think. Like it's more stressful than you would expect. And so I really liked the idea of someone managing it. I just get to make the decisions and don't have to do any of the logistics. So it was good. And you still get lots of choice. Like, for example, leading up to it, you would send through a couple of photos of bouquets that you were interested in and sort of the vibe you wanted to go for, and then they create it from there. So you can still have it your way, but yeah, not overwhelm yourself with endless options and having to sort of be the one making all of the logistics and arrangements. So yeah, it was a really cool package to go with, and I definitely encourage people to look into them a bit more if they are feeling overwhelmed by all the process. Definitely don't regret going through an elopement planner for sure.
Yeah, so helpful, especially if you're planning from overseas as well. And yeah, I've had Haley and Tess on the podcast before as well, and they're so lovely. Would be great to work with, and Carla as well. So yeah, is there anything else you want to mention there about like hard things or things you would change?
Yeah, so I already sort of talked about the dress regrets, and that to me was the main regret. Like I wish I did that differently. There was things in hindsight that I wish we did differently, and I found if you have a traditional wedding, you've quite often been a guest at one before, so you have a bit of an idea of what you do and don't like. Where when it's an elopement or a micro or an intimate wedding, you don't really attend those very often, and so you don't really know exactly what you will and won't like about the day. The things we would have done differently in hindsight was the dinner party that we had. We actually would have done that differently. We wish that we'd either done a private chef to the Airbnb, so it was more wholesome and relaxed. And like it was autumn, it was pretty cold, so to just have come back to a fire at this nice Airbnb and a beautiful meal would have been so much better than going out to a new location for a dinner. Or alternatively, do a private or semi-private dinner the day before with everybody, kind of like a rehearsal dinner, and then the day of just do something really relaxed and easy because you're exhausted by that point of the day. So I wish we'd adjusted that part of our day a bit more. And yeah, we shouldn't have stayed at the Hilton. We should have stayed at the Airbnb and then post-wedding done more intimate accommodation away from family rather than trying to do that the day of the wedding. We didn't really need to do that sort of tradition, I guess. And because we didn't spend too much on the wedding, I think now we're like, oh, we probably should have, if we wanted to be more bougie with it, we should have flown our family up to the mountaintop with us and done a ceremony up there and then go to a second landing for photos. Like that would have been a way to make the day even better and share that experience with family. But at the time when you're planning and all the costs are coming in, you're thinking, oh, we need to cut costs somehow. But yeah, I think now that we're feeling more financially stable, we kind of wish we spent a little bit more on some things to make the day like even more memorable. But definitely don't regret having a small wedding and doing it the way we did, which is nice.
Yeah, so good. Just like little things in hindsight that you don't really know till it's done. So, yeah, it
Yeah.
still sounds like a beautiful day, of course. Interesting to hear that. And yeah, did you guys have a set wedding budget? If you're happy to talk about what that was and yeah, how you found that whole side of things?
Yeah, actually, tracked it all on a spreadsheet, which I'm happy to share because I definitely find numbers useful. So keeping in mind that we got married almost a year ago now. Like our wedding date is April 17th, so it was last year. It's almost 1 year anniversary. So we also locked in our elopement package maybe a year early, maybe a little bit less. And so our prices are definitely 2 years late. I know the whole industry's gone up since then. But our wedding day cost came in at just under 20K. And you can definitely do it cheaper. Like we added a few things to that, and you can definitely obviously go more bougie. Yeah, so our elopement package, I sort of talked about what was covered in that. That was only just under 8 grand. I know they've changed their prices now. We had an extra hour of photography to cover the ceremony a bit more. I think our accommodation was probably the biggest cost because it was like a bigger house. We were lucky enough that my parents gifted us that, which was really nice of them. I think that made it a lot easier for us financially, but also they got a lot out of that experience with our whole family being there and us getting married on the lawn. I think it was quite nice. And yeah, the dinner was just over 2K for that private dining experience. Now, I think we weren't too bad with our bridal and groom outfits. Like mine was just under 3K. Jason's was more than mine, purely
Wow.
because he's 6'6" and he's quite a big build, and any suits he tried on would need so much tailoring that it was just better to go custom. So he had a really good custom experience. Like They a really good vendor here in Adelaide. I think it's called Ignition for Men, possibly. They were fantastic. That was a really cool experience to do together. And our wedding bands, my wedding ring was new, but my engagement ring and his wedding band were family heirlooms. So they were obviously a little cut the cost there. But yeah, the whole day was just under 20K. We spent 2 weeks in the country and it was just over 30K in total. So yeah, I feel like we got 2 weeks worth of memories and a wedding out of that for just over 30K, and I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, super impressive for everything included. And then, yeah, like you say, it's like that full kind of holiday and family time. Did you guys kind of count that as your honeymoon as well? Did you plan something else? What did that look like?
We botched the post-wedding stuff. We love active holidays, we like adventures, and so we had planned to do the Otago Rail Trail multi-day biking sort of tour right after the wedding, and we were really
It's a
excited
lot.
about it. And we were like, this is kind of a honeymoon, like it's an active honeymoon, it's more us. And we've done the Great Taste Trail in Nelson before, we loved it. We thought we'll do the Otago Rail Trail, we heard good things about it, and it was horrible. It was so bad. We had horrible weather. It was raining. It was cold. The bikes didn't come with mud guards, so we're not only saturated but muddy, which sucked. And then it was Easter weekend, and we kind of assumed it would just sort of, the track wouldn't be that busy or be some maybe similar people to us, but instead it was like family friend groups with teenagers. And we went from staying in a beautiful Airbnb near Jack's Point with family to staying in really average accommodation with teenagers outside of our room, and it sucked. And we actually quit the trail 2 days in. We were like, nah, this is horrible. I don't know why we're doing this. And it was horrible. It was a bad idea. We laugh at it now. Like, we didn't have any arguments, so that's great. Like,
Yeah.
it was, first test of marriage was hell, and we were still fine. But yeah, that was supposed to be a honeymoon. It definitely wasn't. So I think we're due for a redo at some point.
Yeah, maybe go to Fiji this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no offense to teenagers, but some of the most annoying age group of people when, you're just trying to enjoy time as a couple. Yeah, it was quite an intense trail. I haven't done the whole thing, but my sister used to live in Alexandra, so done parts of it. And yeah, it's like, would be super fun, but not in unideal conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good you made the call on that. Did you, you kind of mentioned a bit of your like research and stuff, but was there any other sort of helpful resources you used during the wedding planning in terms of like finding vendors or inspiration, stuff like that?
Well, the whole reason we even sort of booked in the elopement in the first place is there was a girl I know from university, and she had gone through, I think it was Lost in Love elopements. She got married through them, and I remember looking at her photos and thinking, that is like stunning. Like, what a cool way to get married, and it looked like such a cool weekend. And that, I think, stuck with me, seeing someone else do something that I really liked. And then that's sort of why we looked into it as an option. The vendors down there are so awesome, and they have a lot of really good social media accounts. So I was following them on Instagram for a long time, and then because they do so many weddings down there, like every few weeks you're getting like a different wedding sort of shown to you. And I just think I got lots of ideas of brides that had already done what we were going to do. Simple as looking at what sort of shoes they were wearing, because I was like, well, we're going to be having photos on a mountaintop. Like, we've had our elopement photos before on like a quite a big hilltop, and I wore heels, and it was really hard to walk in them. I had to wear jandals half the time, and I was like, I don't want to do that on our wedding day. So yeah, taking inspiration from other people who had done something similar to us and getting an idea for what looked good and what was practical was probably the most sort of helpful, because anyone who was doing a traditional wedding was doing something completely different to what we would care about. So yeah, I think looking at people doing something similar, their Instagram accounts were very useful to go off. I think there was a few weddings that were published in some magazines like Together Journal, which I got more of an idea of how the day went, which were really helpful too. But otherwise, because everything was arranged for us and I could trust them fully because I could see what they could do and it was amazing, I kind of was happy to just go with the flow a bit, which was nice. I didn't have to stress too much, Jason. I didn't have to discuss the wedding too much, and yeah, it was a very easy way to do it.
Yeah, so good. Not so much taking over your life while you're both working full time and have your whole other life going on. So good.
Yeah.
You've given a lot already, but is there any other advice or what you would say to a couple planning their wedding at the moment?
Yeah, I think if you're in the early stages of wedding planning and you're really stressed and overwhelmed by all of it and the finances are really off-putting, I would really encourage people to look into the elopement packages at a place of interest to them, whether it be Queenstown or a tropical island, because you might find that those packages speak more to you than you would expect. And there's definitely ways to adjust it from an elopement to a small intimate wedding with people that you want there. And the cost is very desirable for a day that flies by. So yeah, if it's feeling like too much, then look into those options. You might find it's a lot more enjoyable phase in your life.
Yeah, so good. Such a good option to consider. And yeah, what is married life like now? Do you feel like you got any of those post-wedding, post-elopement blues?
Married life is good. I'm really glad we got married last year. We were originally going to get married this year, but I'm really excited with where we are now. Like, we're building a house now and looking to start a family, and that's a really exciting phase. So I'm glad we didn't delay that by a year. I definitely got post-wedding blues immediately after the wedding. Like, the horrible bike trip did not help. Like, that did not make it any better. But yeah, I think because we live on a different country to our family, saying goodbye to them after that week was really hard. So I was sort of like, oh, it's all over. We're not going to see them for a little while now, especially both families at the same time. So I was a little bit depressed about that. And yeah, with the dress regret, that sucked. Like, I feel like I have a really reflective personality, and I like to improve things and tweak things to make them better, and that characteristic works well for me in my job. But when it comes to a day that you can't repeat and can't do over, it sucks. You kind of have to go, well, I would have done this differently and that differently, but I can't change it. And this day I've looked forward to for 20 years is that's it. That's what it is. Like, I didn't get the sunshine that I wanted to see my veil all sparkly, but yeah, definitely the post-wedding blues. I didn't expect to get that. I thought it was more people would just be, oh, I'm sad the day's done, as opposed to the emotional roller coaster that was more about processing sort of feelings I didn't expect to have. But it only lasted about a week, so that was good. Not too depressed now.
No, I think that's so relatable for people. And yeah, if they're kind of that similar personality type, can be a bit of a process to sort of just accept that and what it was and like look at the positive, I guess. But yeah, so relatable. Yeah, it's been so lovely to chat to you today and cool to hear a bit different experience to the norm, or what people do with a kind of 100-person venue wedding. So I think that's so cool for people to hear about how that can work, and that that's an option, and especially if they're on a more restricted budget. So thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else that we missed or you want to add as we wrap up?
No, I think that's everything. And thanks for having me on the podcast. It's been really fun. And yeah, I hope it helps others in their process. And yeah, I'm really grateful for the wedding I had and the even better husband I got at the end of it. So yeah, thanks for having me.
So good. That's what it's all about. I think, this will help a lot of people. So yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome.